Before we get into it, a very tiny, 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 tiny disclaimer piece of information. This episode was recorded months ago, so forgive the dates, the months, the times that I mentioned on this episode because it was recorded in June. So bear with me, bear with us. But enjoy.
Hey guys, welcome to your favorite late night sessions with your one and only Bean. I hope you guys have been having a lovely 6 months into the year. It's crazy how the year is already halfway. And yeah, we just want to thank God for bringing us this far. And I hope you guys are still doing great and the year is going well for you guys. So, as some of you may know, some of you may not know, June is the month for men's mental health awareness. Last month was mental health awareness, just simple mental health. But this month we're focusing on the men. And in that light, today I'm joined by a very special guest who whose story is just so I don't even have the words for it, but I just thank God for carrying him through all that he has been through. And he is here with us today to share his story with us. And I hope that someone will gain strength from it. And yeah, I don't even want to talk too much without giving him the platform. Brryan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. How are you doing?
I am doing well. Today is actually a better day for me. Sometimes, when you're dealing with a chronic illness, you have good days and bad days, and
Yeah.
I'm thankful today that it's more of a good day. So,
Yeah.
good day, great day.
I'm glad that we caught you on a good day then. So, do you care to give us a bite size and just introduce yourself to the people out there? Just let them know who Brryan Jackson is and, yeah, what you're all about. And if you're comfortable, if you're ready, just jump right into your story.
Oh, I would be happy to. My name is Brryan Jackson. It's Brryan. If you can pronounce it Brryan, that would be great. But I also have to say, the best people call me Bri though.
Yeah.
So Bri rhymes with hope guy. It's not Barry, it's not Bree, it's Bri. Bri the hope guy. And anyways, my story starts back in 1991. I was born a baby. And I was
Mm,
born to a very loving mother, but a father who was, you know, wasn't sure if he wanted to have kids, and denied that I was his kid, until DNA testing said otherwise. And he wasn't very an active father. And fast forward to 11 months after I was born, I was in the hospital for an asthma attack. And during this time, my mother did try to get a hold of him at his workplace and tried to, say, hey, your son's in the hospital. I thought you
mm,
might like to know. But when she called the hospital he worked at, the operator or person working there said, Mr. Stewart doesn't have any kids. And, my mom brushed it off. And then finally, the day I was being chucked out of the hospital, he made a surprise visit. And my mom not wanting to, fight or figure out like what's going on. She was just tired. She was ready to go home. She was thirsty and just wanted a drink from the cafeteria. And so here my dad comes in. He brings his lab coat. And nobody asked him about his lab coat. He just said, "Oh, I didn't want it to be stolen from the car." Okay, weird,
mm.
whatever. And my mom said, "Hey, I'm waiting for the discharge papers. Can you go down to the cafeteria and get me something to drink?" And his response is, "No, I'll stay here and watch your kid while you go get something to drink." So my mom left the room, and this is where it was told that he took out a stolen tube of HIV tainted blood and intentionally injected me with the HIV virus. hoping I would die off and he wouldn't have to pay child support. Not only was it HIV tainted blood, it was also incompatible blood. And so I'll leave it to the nurse to kind of maybe explain a little bit more on the difference there. But my
Yeah.
vital signs started going out of whack, and I'm screaming and crying. Doctors and nurses are rushing in. My mom rushes back into the room, and all my dad could say is, "Oh, I need to get out of here." And everybody's attending to me though, and they were able to stabilize me. They transferred me to another hospital. Uh, couldn't figure out what was going on. They're like, this is crazy. He was just here for an asthma attack. This isn't consistent with an asthma attack, and he was fine. We were about ready to send him home. So all these things didn't add up at first. And about a month later, my father stayed around, but then finally told my mom, I'm leaving, and don't worry about looking me up for child support. Your child's not going to live to see the age of 5. She didn't think anything about that until 1996. I went from being this playful, happy, energetic 5-year-old to this bloated, feverish, sick kid. And I mean, I have mood swings. There's a bunch of fevers that I couldn't break. And so my mother carried me to numerous doctor's appointments, begging the doctors to find out why I was why I was sick, appearing near death. And they could not come up with an answer until one night my pediatrician had this nightmare, and she wakes up in sweats, calls down to the hospital and says, "What if it's HIV? What if it's AIDS?" And so they immediately tested me for HIV, and the results came back, and I was diagnosed with full-blown AIDS. I had 3 opportunistic infections. After coding twice, I was actually back up there a little bit. I was on the total of 23 oral medications, 3 IV antibiotics, and 2 injections daily. A majority of those medications were not available to children. And one of the medications made me lose my hearing. So for those who are listening, you might tell I have an accent that you can't pinpoint where it's from, but no, I'm hard of hearing. And I lost my hearing a lot when I was learning how to speak, and so I say things a little bit differently, if not more correctly, I would like to argue. Uh, but back to my story. So doing all these things, and after coding twice, um, there was talks about, you need to start planning his funeral because we're going to send him home from the hospital to die. And the doctors didn't believe that I would see the age of 6. And thankfully, I survived all of this, and wasn't supposed to see the age of 6, but I celebrated my 33rd birthday back in February. So we're almost to the 34th birthday. But
Yeah.
so what happened with my father? There was an investigation that was launched by the police department, and he ended up being found guilty of um, intentionally injecting me with HIV, and he is currently serving a life sentence in prison. But I do not have any contact with him. I do, we can get into this talking about forgiveness, because I think forgiveness is a big piece of the mental health
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But there has been some forgiveness, but there's just no relationship.
Yeah. Wow, that is really a lot. And first of all, I'm glad that you survived that, and I'm also so thankful that you were open enough to share your story with us. I really appreciate that.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. So, in terms of mental health, how would you say your mental health looked like from the time, let's say maybe when you could better understand things like teenagehood or like going into young adulthood, what kind of like how was your mental state at that time, coming to terms with what was going on and taking all these medications and being in this situation?
Well, I think my mental health kind of fluctuated. I mean, when I was in the hospital, I mean, everybody, all my loved ones were trying to, make me as happy as possible. And,
Yeah.
so I was kind of an oblivious 5-year-old just watching,
Yeah.
Free Willy and Power Rangers. I don't know if you guys had that where you're
Of course,
from.
of course. That's
Okay, everybody should know the
that's
Power.
yeah.
Um, so I was just dreaming about, fighting crime, but then I think sometimes reality crept in, and I knew I think I knew I was dying because I would wake up from nightmares, you know,
Mm,
um, uh, screaming, "Mom, please don't let me die, please don't let me die," and she would just remind me that it's okay. I do remember also having nightmares about my dad, coming back to finish the job.
oh,
Um, and then, back in, 1996, I wanted the normal thing. My mom just wanted me to have a normal life, live out a normal life. If I'm gonna die, I'm gonna go out being a normal kid.
yeah.
But my life is kind of really anything but normal. And she tried her hardest. She tried to get me into school, and after arguing with her of whether I can go to school, they finally said, "Sure, you can go. He can come to school, but he can't drink from the water fountains. He can only come for half a day, and he has to use the bathroom in the nurse's room."
Yeah.
So I had all these restrictions and going to school. When I went to school, my father's trial was also going on, so they would recognize my mom and they'd be like, "Oh, you're the woman whose son was injected with HIV. Oh, is
Mm,
that your son? Oh, don't let him hang out with my kid."
yeah.
And so I was left out of birthday parties and social invitations, and this even affected my older sister, who has a different dad. Um, and
Okay.
so that mentality, kind of wondering, I realized very quickly that I was different. And if it wasn't of HIV, having HIV and AIDS, that I realized I was different. I mean, I wore, these, thick glasses. I had hearing aids that would just, pop
Yeah.
out my ears. So I was a very easy target to be made fun of. And, towards my later years in grade school, I started dealing with a lot of bullying. And but it started off as just verbal taunts, people
Yeah.
just saying things. But around sixth and seventh grade, people started to be physically violent towards me, and the school would always be like, "Oh, you just let us know if it happens again. Let us know," and they weren't protecting me. So I had to start protecting myself. And so in order to protect myself, I would start getting into these fights to defend myself. But, the kids I was in school with, they would get like a slap on the wrist of like a detention, and I would get suspended from school. And so, seventh grade year, I got into another fight where I was defending myself. And I, went down to the principal's office, and the principal told me, um, that I'm the problem, and he explained that if I just wasn't here, there wouldn't be a problem.
Wow.
And so I took that what he was saying, and I was like, "God, you know what? I don't want to be part of it. I don't want to be a problem.
Mm,
I don't want to be a burden to anybody." And so one night I had three knives in front of me, and I asked myself which one can cut the deepest. And in this moment of desperation, a voice cried out to me, and I picked up my Bible, told me to go read the Bible. And so I picked up a Bible and I read this passage, and it said, "Why so downcast, O my soul? Put your hope in God." And uh, I was curious about what hope is and what hope meant.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm gonna put off this plan, and I'm gonna go start searching for what hope is. And I came to the conclusion that in life we're carried into this world, and then we're crawling and then taking baby steps, and before you know it, we're gonna be walking and running and then taking leaps of faith. But what guarantees that we can make those leaps? Or if we fall short of those leaps, we can get back up. And that is hope, and hope is vital. And I also realized that, in this world we have a lot of problems and we don't have a lot of solutions. And
Mm.
so you can either be part of the problem or you can be part of the solution. I also realized, change those words around a little bit. Do you want to play the role of the victim, or do you want to live in victory? And so I was like, ah, man, I want to really, I want to do something. And, somebody asked me, if you're not sharing your story with the world, what's the world missing? And I quickly realized that the world is missing hope. And that's when I started my, motivational speaking career at the age of 13. And, things were great when I was traveling, when I had the freedom to be vulnerable and share my story. But at home, there was a different story. I still didn't feel like I could, talk about my struggles and talk about, who I really am. And I was still being bullied. By the time I got to high school, I was kicked off the football team, and I was kicked off the wrestling team. And so that kind of led me back into a depression.
Mm.
Um, and so that depression, though, it just cut me from. It was putting me back on that path of like feeling worthless. One of the things that I used to actually get over that step in depression was to start serving other people. And so locally, I was like, if I can't share my story, I want to help other people. And so I began to start helping other people, and that made a huge difference to where I was being one night I was being recognized by a local organization, and they were like, "Hey, we should get the news team out here." And I was like, "Okay, cool, fine. Get the news out here." And I was like, "Oh, you know what? If the news is coming, I wanna share my story, and I wanna set the record straight.
Yeah.
Of who
Yeah.
I really am." And so I, went on the news and I shared my story. I said, "Yep, I'm the kid who is injected with HIV. I'm here. I'm sharing my story. I'm helping other people. These are good things." And then they're like, "Is there anything else you want to say?" And I just said, "Oh, I want to forgive my father."
Mm.
Is the last thing I said. And I think this did miracles for my mental health, for my physical health, because after this incident and allowing myself to let go of the baggage. And
Yeah.
here's the thing about forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about freeing yourself.
Yeah. True.
Um, and so it's like, what do you need to do? Don't worry about other people. You can still, you know, uh, you can still have boundaries and not allow people to be in your life, but what you don't want is to hold grudges,
Yeah.
or to have bitterness, or to have baggage, right? And so what do you need to do to free yourself from past experiences? And forgiveness did that for me. When I forgave my father, I became undetectable, which means I have a 0% chance of passing on the virus. The
Yeah.
medications that I'm on were working. I was getting physically healthier. A huge weight felt like it lifted off my shoulders.
Mm.
I was walking around like the next day after that interview, like I was on cloud nine. And in this story, I would like to say that life did get better. It did get better in a way, But I think what happens often with motivational speakers, sometimes will tell you there was this big problem. I found the solution and everything's better. The thing is about mental health, and you're asking me about, I'm 33, so uh, the mental health still kind of roller coasted up
Yeah.
and down as I got older.
Each day is
Um,
different. Yeah.
but the thing is, the more that you have awareness and you practice the good rules for good mental health, the highs and lows don't seem to be extreme anymore, right? You kind
Yeah.
of find more of an even flow as life goes on, and that's where I am, today. Is like I have more of an even flow. Like I'll have like a little spike in like a high, mental health high, and
Mm.
then I'll have like a little, downward spike
Yeah.
sometimes. But depression, PTSD, anxiety, those are still real things that I deal with every day. But it takes patience with myself. It takes a lot of counseling. It
Yeah.
takes medication.
Mm.
Um, and it's not just one of those things work. And I understand, a lot of times we all want to be the person who helps people out, puts people in charge of good mental health. And it's easy for us to say, hey, you need to work out more. I think it's a combination of you need to find out what works for you. And that
Yeah.
could be medicine, that could be rest, that could be exercise. It could be a combination of all the things above. But I will say the one thing that needs to be consistent is to either have a life coach, a mentor, or a professional counselor. And I would
Yeah.
argue the professional counselor because they're the ones who are more equipped to deal with it.
Mm. True. And you were telling me earlier that you have a brand that focuses and centers on hope. Um, do you care to tell me more about that and what kind of work you do with that brand and how we can also get into this brand and partake in whatever initiatives that you do with your brand?
Yeah, so I run a clothing brand called hopeisvital.co. So uh, you can visit us at HOPEVITCO.
Hmm.
And at hopeisvital.co, basically started at the beginning of the pandemic. I always wanted to run a clothing line. I found a tweet from like 2008 that said, "Oh, someday I'll get to a clothing line." So it's a dream come true for me. But
Yeah.
I just didn't want to start like any clothing line. I wanted to start a clothing line that gives back. And so at the very beginning when we started, we were helping raise money for frontline support for COVID-19.
Yeah.
And uh, then from that, right now we are very big in raising awareness for mental health. We partner with local organizations to give 10% of the profit to those organizations. And so we're always looking for avenues to give back. And I'm really passionate about, current events or mental health or HIV and AIDS awareness. And actually, Hope is Vital started as an HIV awareness thing.
Yeah.
Back when I was in high school, I started an organization called Hope is Vital to bring a new meaning to HIV. Um, and so HIV, Hope is Vital. That's how we got the name. And so, but yeah, that's my brand. That's what we got going on.
Awesome stuff. I'm gonna put the link in the description box so that everyone can have access to it and check out all the work that you do with your brand. But like, yeah, how's life? Like, how's life now? Are you married? Are you in a relationship? Do you have kids? Like, the lighter note or the brighter side of everything.
So today I am happily married. I got married last August, and we do not have any kids. Currently doing motivational speaking, life coaching, and
Yeah.
running a clothing line as well as going to school. Um, I hope to have kids someday, and I've dreamed a lot about having kids my whole life. If my dad taught me anything, it was how not to be a father, and I also just I want the chance to experience that joy, and so um,
Yeah.
yeah, so we'll see where life goes, but for right
Yeah.
now it's just simple.
Lovely. No, I do pray that all that comes true for you. What advice would you give to someone who's listening in and they probably also maybe going through a tough situation that is draining them mentally, physically, spiritually, or they're just finding themselves at dead end or going through some painful mental health situations and they feel like there's no hope for them?
I think I would like to remind anybody who's going through some tough mental health struggles. I would like them to know that they are loved and they are valued and they are worthy, and whatever they are going through right now is real.
Hmm.
Um, and what I like to do is with my friends is, and I want to speak for how people should reach out to those friends who are struggling, right?
Yeah.
I told you what I would say to somebody, but here's what I would also do, and I hope I can encourage people to do this as well. Just sit in the sucks with people, like sit in the pit and despair with those friends, to truly let them know that you are there for them, right?
Yeah.
And don't say things like, "Oh, this too shall pass." Let them figure that out on their own, right?
Yeah.
The best thing that you can do is to, yes, find resources for when they're ready to get help, and then two, just be there with them. And
Mm.
I think that is the best advice that I can give. If you have a loved one who is going through some challenges, is just be with them.
Yeah. No, that's very deep, and I totally understand what you mean. We're always inclined to want to give advice or to like want to give solutions, but sometimes just something as simple as being there for them and going through it with them can go a long way.
And they'll ask for it. I think more times I've been asked, what's the solution to something. But when you're grieving, grieve well, right? Grieving is a process, right? And
Yeah.
I don't think it's a process that's exactly like, there's 7 stages of grief, right? I think part of grieving well is to finally figure out where you're at, and there's going to be a time for, oh, can I ask a friend for the solution? There's going to be a time for, I just need to cry right now. There's going to be a time for, I just need to do something that's distracting, and most of all, I just need to go help other people.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a time for everything, and but I promise you, when you first find out about that somebody's going through some mental struggle, battling depression or anything, the first thing that they are not going to want your solutions. They're going to want to experience your love.
True. Yeah. Brryan, thank you so much for your time today. And thank you so much for letting us into your world and sharing your story with us. I mean, it's definitely a testimony of hope for someone out there listening in. And Yeah, I really appreciate you just giving us your time today.
Well, thank you for having me. And, if there's any listener out there who, needs help getting to the right resources or just needs to, talk, my social media channel is open to you to find me. And I hope I can give you um, I hope I can love you well, guide you
Yes.
well. But I just want to for everybody who's listening here today, I just want to make sure that everybody has a safe space to feel vulnerable. And I think that if we can create that for other people, I think the world will be in a better place.
Yeah. I will attach your social media as well in the description box of the episode so that anyone who feels like they would like to reach out to you so that you're also that safe space for them has the opportunity to do so. Is there any other platform where people can reach you besides your Instagram and your website, your Hope is Vital Hope website?
So yeah, reach out to you can reach out on my website, bryanjackson.com. Don't forget the two R's and the Y. Um, you can check out hopeisvital.co. I am on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, but I don't post a lot on there. But
Yeah.
if you have any tips on how I can post more, I would greatly welcome them. Uh, but yeah, that's how anybody can reach me and the best ways to reach me. So, but once again, thank you for this opportunity.
You're welcome. No, I should be thanking you. And I'm very grateful that you shared your time with us and you shared your story with us. And like I said, I really pray that all the things that you're wishing for and hoping for come true. You building a family and your brand growing and you being the safe space for everyone that you come in contact with.
I appreciate that.
Thank you so much, Brryan.
No problem. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in to that catch up session that was with Brryan Jackson, looking into the hurdles that he's overcome in his life and what that has done for his mental health and, building hope and resilience to push through this life. I hope you guys were able to pick up as many nuggets of wisdom from his experience to carry within your own. September is Suicide Awareness Month, so I'm just here to remind us to be a little bit more sensitive to the topic this month than we would be on any other month of the year. And to just love on someone a little bit more and to pay more attention to our loved ones and those around us and to render them the love and care that they need to get through the situation. And if you are going through a suicidal crisis, I'm here to reassure you that you're not alone and you're loved not just by your family and those around you, but by God too, and their resources to help you through this. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in. Stay blessed. This is your bean with the biggest love.